उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है अभी तक किसी को? Okay, then we are starting with use case modeling. So in this use case modeling, what we are having to do is we had completed this domain model in the last class. Then we are starting with the use case modeling, and that is we are going for the dynamic view that is being that is to be collected from our requirement side. So we'll start. So this is this use case diagram that is being visible, that is in red portion. So this is an we are trying to develop this use case model in this class. So when we are starting the use case model, so what are the use case modeling? So in the use case model, we have to identify the use cases as well as the actor systems and the boundary of our system. So typically a use case diagram is just a very simple, and it doesn't shows what are the main details, but it summarizes the relationship between the use cases, actors, and the system. So use cases are generally the functionality of our system. We include the main functional requirements of our system, then actors are the user of system, and finally the overall system that has been covered in the first lecture, the mean. Then does not show how your data is flown from one side to another side or in different components, but it shows the major functionality of the system. So what is the purpose of modeling use case? So the main purpose is to identify the context of the system, what we are trying to do, what is the achievable goals, and what are the system requirements, main requirements that is to be built for our system. Then it usually helps to validate our system that what are the requirements, and then after complete when we complete on the gathering requirements, then we are having uh, a visual model that is being available and that is being documented. So after the requirement specification and requirement gathering, we analyze our requirements and generate a model and document it. So that document is presented to the client side, and we usually put an agreement that these are the final requirements, and then we'll proceed for this. In many cases, we does not go for the final requirement, but yeah, it मोटे मोटे तौर पे उतनी requirements तो हमारी हो ही जाएगी. Then so after having the requirements, so when we are going for the validation and verification of system, so it helps to develop test cases for our system. And as in previous slide, when we are having a use cases over here, so in case of use cases and after developing use cases, when we are in sequence diagram, that then we generate a test plans that is based on our requirements. So it helps to develop the test plan for the system validation. Then it is so when we are going for the use case development, so these use case development are usually developed by your domain expert as well as the analyst. So if you are having some domain experts available, then they will surely help to conclude to include various types of requirements that are not been given by the users. So we are taking as a glance use case as a glance. So here is just an use case diagram available here. So we are having three actors. One is a cellular phone, second one is a customer, third one is an external phone. So in that case, we are having three use cases available. So these use cases are just these are in elliptical form. So in use cases, you are having a handle message, a handle call, a manage bill. So these three elliptical things are use cases. Then we are having some relationship between the use cases and the actors. So these actors are the cellular phone, customer, and economy. And then we are having a system. So a system is being shown in blue rectangle, and then we are having a system boundary. In the first class, I told you about we are having some system boundary and the system that resides in some environment. So we have to find out what is the boundary of system. So it is being helpful for how to develop your system and what main functionality that we have to include in system. So we are not going for open environment. So we have to stuck on in the system that will helpful to achieve your goal as fast as possible. So first question arises that what is an actor? So what is an actor? So actor is someone who interacts with your use cases or your system function. So actor is being represented by this diagram that is being available in the right side of your screen. So we'll use how to identify the actors. So all the nouns that are being available in your requirements are usually considered as an actor. Then we'll go how to refine our actors. So actor are usually plays a main role in a business system, or how to interact with your system, or all the persons who are interacting with your system are usually actors. Then we are having different types of actors available that can have different roles, or we can have a similar type of actors that can have different role. For an example, I'm a faculty, so as a faculty, I have to take lectures, I have to give attendance, I have to take tests. But as a class teacher, so I have to maintain all the academic as well as administration part of some classes. So as an employee, I am just a teacher as well as I am a class teacher. I am having two types of different roles available. So we are having actor can play two roles as well, two or many roles, or we can have many actor plays a similar type of role. So we can group actors. For an example, a professor can be instructor or can also be a researcher. So we have different roles are available. So who's the actor? Actor who uses the functionality of the system, who triggers your use cases, who calls your use cases, who uses your use cases, or use the functionality of your use cases. So it provides the input to your system, it gets the output from your system. So this is input and output of your system to and from the actor in the your system. So we'll start with the use case modeling. So next question is, what is use case? So use case is just a system function, and how to give a name to use case. So general convention is that either we have to use a verb, or a verb plus noun, or a noun phrase. But it starts with a verb, like in as shown in this slide number 25. So we are having three use cases, that is handle messages, handle call, manage bill. So these are functions. So we use verb plus noun or verb phrase, or noun phrase. So it should start from the verb. When we are saying that bill, so this is not a use case, or message is not a use case. Instead, we have to use a verb plus noun phrase. So this is a handle message, or handle call, or manage bill. So you have to being you have to use a noun phrase or verb plus noun phrase, so that to get the correct nomenclature for your use cases. So when we are using this verb plus noun phrases, it means that you are doing something. So these are the functions. So when we are going for functions, so we have to do something. So nomenclature should be do something, like manage calls, or aid student, or update students, and so on. So these are major functionalities. When you are having functional requirements, then you have to make all function requirements to each use cases. Then each actor must be linked to at least a use case. Otherwise, we can say that the actor is user of your system. So we have to at least associate any actor with at least one use cases. Then we are having communication links available with each of use cases, like one use case is associated with other use cases. So we have different relationships, like an invoke, like an proceeds, like extend, like include. So we are having four types of links available. In addition to that, we are having association link also. So then comes the boundary of system. So we are having a boundary of system that is available. So boundary of system is represented as a rectangle of your system. So what is the boundary? So boundary is potentially the entire system defined in your requirement documents. So you have to identify your system boundary. So when we are going outside your system boundary, to you have to struct in your boundary that we are doing something like that. Like we have to develop an information system for our university. So we are only considering the our system as a university. Instead, we don't go outside our university. So this should be like you require a gate pass to go outside from your university. So it takes some, you have to take some permissions for all sorts of things. So it is not recommended that you should go outside your domain. So you have to restrict your system with particular boundary. So for large and when we are developing a large and complex system, so each subsystem has their own boundaries. So you have to identify what are the different boundaries available. For an example, ERP system of an organization, each modules like personal, payroll, accounting, attendance, and so on. So these are have different boundaries available. So as a teacher, I have a boundary that I can take attendance, I can submit marks, but I don't have permission of payroll or the accounting or the fees section, so on. So we have to identify the boundaries. Then we are a questions. So what are the users of the system that are trying to do? So what are the actors? So actors are usually just an revising thing. So actors are the users of your system. And what about user experiences? So the user experiences are usually modeled by the use cases of the your diagram. Now the question is that why do I need the use case in addition to functional requirements? So in case of functional requirements, these functional requirements are usually a mixture of your high level and low level of requirements. So kindly mute your system. Don't do more creating some noises. So question is that why do I need the use case in addition to functional requirement that has been documented as in your GUI boundaries? So when I'm saying that we are having some functional requirements, that is a mixture of high level and low level of requirements. So these requirements may be ambiguous, may not be ambiguous. So we have to identify which are the main requirements, and then when we are having unambiguous requirements, so we are surely final that we have to complete certain types of function with some actors, and certain another types of functions with another actor. So when instead when we are having functional requirements and documents, so we cannot identify, or we cannot put visually that what are the functional requirements related to some actors, or it may be ambiguous. So we have to avoid the ambiguity in addition to the mixing the high level and the low level functional requirements. So in case of use case modeling, we usually add high level functional requirements, and then we'll sort out all low level requirements in the sequence model and the interaction models that are being available. Then don't forget to add the rainy day scenario. So what are the rainy day scenario? So when we are saying that we have to model some functional requirements, so we have to consider the alternate source of code. For an example, our functional requirement is the login to our system. So this is the good case, and this is being available for us. But what is the problem associated with this is my screen is visible? No. Okay, wait. I'll start my screen. Share screen. Okay, fine. Now it is visible. No? Now is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay, fine. So when you are writing your use cases, we have to focus on what are the main functional requirements are captured by the user actions, and we have to associate the system responses with all those use cases. But in the basic course, or when we are having some basic courses, in basic courses we include like a sunny day usage of a system, that 90% of system behavior is being captured in the sunny days or the your main courses. But in case of alternative courses, the 90% functionalities are good, but what about the remaining the 10%? Like when we have to add a student into our system, so what are the main information that is being available for an user, so he must be logged into your system. So if the system, if the user is not logged in your system, so he may not be able to use your system. So alternative courses, so as an alternative courses को हम मान के चलते हैं कि वो सारे courses जो हमारी bad condition पे या worse condition पे हो सकते हैं. For an example, let's say what should be the example? That I have to delete a student. So example might be I have to delete my student. So when we are, so question is that in the basic courses you search your student, and after searching your student you will delete. But the problem associated with the alternate course is that a student doesn't exist in your system. So when your system user doesn't exist in your system, so this might be an alternative courses that that are the worst condition of your system, that is user not available. So we have to consider the rainy day scenario, that is the worst cases. So we include usually the best cases in our system, but we have to include all the worst cases कि अगर ऐसा हो जाए तो हम क्या करेंगे. For an example कि अगर हम क्लासेस अटेंड कर रहे हैं, व्हाट अबाउट कि अगर हमारा नेट खराब हो जाए, तो नेट नहीं चल रहा, मेरा डेटा पैक खराब हो गया या खत्म हो गया. सो दिस इज द अल्टरनेटिव कोर्सेज और दिस इज वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो. सो यू हैव टू कंसीडर ऑल वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियोज also there. Then comes some use cases example. So we are taking some links, communication links between different users and the functions, user and the use cases. In addition to that, use cases and use cases. So first is association link. So it might be directed link, or some tools supports directed link, or some tools supports undirected links. So in case of StarUML, it doesn't support a directed link, while IBM Rational Roads support the directed link. So you have to consider what are the supports available for the association link. So, and this association link just help to find out the relationship between a user and a use case. So this is just a simple relationship that a user is associated with some use cases. Then we have some include relationships. So this include relationship exists between use cases. So it provides some additional functionality that is being not specified in your use cases. So let's say I am a base use case. This is an borrow books. That it also includes functionality that check fine or check reserved books. So when we are having a function that I have to student have to borrow books. So first we have to check that whether some fine is imposed on students or not. So this the functionality that imposing a fine on students is not being included in the borrow books, but we have to check first. So this is just an additional functionality that is being available for your base use cases. Like check reserved books. So if I want to borrow some books, so the librarian will check whether the reserve number of books are available in our system or not. So this provides some additional functionality in addition to your base cases. Then again, the next relationship is extend relationship. So what is this extend relationship? So this extend relationship is very important and provides the optional functionality. While in case of include relationship, you are providing additional functionality. So in case of additional functionality, your flow of information is from base use case to your another use case that provides an additional functionality with an stereotype include. While in case of extend relationship, so you are the relationship is pointing toward your base use cases. So this is just an opposite of your opposite direction of your include relationship. So it provides an optional. So you can use an optional, but it is not a compulsory. Well, include might be in compulsory, but this isn't just an optional. So it may not be an compulsory thing. So when a student is requesting a book, so you can opt for searching a book. So you can opt for some searching a book, or so when you are extending your relationship, so you are having some extension points available. So in this ellipse, so your base use cases is divided into two parts. First is the name of your function, and then you are going for extension points. So these extension points are below your line. So you have two compartments for your base cases for the implementing your extend relationship. For in the upper part, you will write the use case name as a noun, verb noun phrase, verb plus noun or a noun phrase, and then in the second part you are adding an extension point, so you can use a search as an extension point. So you have to consider that this addition include relationship provides additional functionality. So you then that is pointing towards your additional functionality, while in case of extension points, this relationship points toward your base class and you have to make a compartment for their extension point. So this is an extension relationship. Then again, a generalization relationship. So in case of generalization relationship, this is just an inheritance. So this searching method, so I am having a search use cases that identify that searches some books. So we are having two different use cases. One is search by call number, another is by search by author. So these are using the basic functionality of search. In addition to that, it is using its functionality by their call number or their accession number, and second functionality is by using searching by your author. So this is generalization relationship, and you are comfortable with this. Now the next question is that how to identify actors. So to identify your actors, you have to go, you have to identify who are the users, who are the user of system. So while going in the requirement documents, so identify who first identify what is the system. Then after identify the system, find out what are the different functionalities of your system, and after identifying the functionalities, identify who are the different users who are using the functionalities of system, or who install the system, who makes the system, who starts the system, who maintains the system, or who shut down your system, or who what are the other system. Sometimes other system that are not other systems that are not related with our system are considered as a actor of your system. For an example, let's say in let's say let's say I am going for an payment system. I am going to implement in some commercial website. So in commercial website, we are having some payment gateway. So when we are implementing codes for payment gateway, so let's say we are having PayPal. So when I am not implementing the PayPal, so I will include PayPal as an actor of our system. So any other system that exists outside our boundary will be considered as a that might be considered as a actor to your system. Then again, question is that who gets the information of the system. So this is again a user of your system. Who provides the information to the system, that is the who are getting the output, who are giving the input, and who are getting the output from your system are also the actors of your system. Then next is, does anything happens automatically at a present time? So when it happens automatically, so this is again a user of your system or the actors of your system. Then we are having two different types of actors available. So first is a primary actor, and the second one is a supporting actor. So who is the primary actor? So a primary actor is a user who defined your user goals and fulfilled, and that is being fulfilled by your system. So primary actors are usually the stakeholders of your system that delivers that gets some services from your system, or that delivers some services to your system. So their goal is to get services from some operations. And so primary actors are usually very often, and they usually triggers your use cases, like an let's say a user of your system logs into your system. So this user or the student is generally a primary actor of our system. Then when we are going for let's say mm, uh, let's say payment service. So payment service is outside our system, and this is not being usually used by our use cases or your functionality. So these are considered as a supporting actor. So who are the supporting actors? So supporting actors who provides your services to your system. So primary actors get services from your system, and the supporting actors will provide services to your system. So a payment gateway is providing services to us. So this is an supporting actor for our system. Till now, am I audible to all? Okay, fine. Then, so this is just an example to identify who are the supporting actors and who are the main actors of system. So anyone who can say that who are the supporting actors and who are the main actors of system? Anyone?
The main actors are the bank customer.
Okay, then.
And sir, card holders may be the supporting actors.
Okay,
क्योंकि
fine.
सर वो मतलब इट्स नॉट कंपल्सरी ना कि कार्ड होल्डर जो हो वो रहे नहीं रहे. बैंक कस्टमर इज द परमानेंट वन, सो ही मे बी द मेन एक्टर.
Okay, fine. So from my side, I am saying that just wait a minute. You know? So a card holder is a primary user who gets their services from withdrawal money, and usually we are the card holders of, for a banking system or the ATM system. So card holder is an uh, uh, primary actor of system. And additionally, bank customer is also an primary actor of our system. While when we are using a Visa AS or the bank AS that are providing us services to our card holders or to withdraw money from any supporting platform. So Visa AS and bank IS are the supporting actor of the system. So when we are going to identify which are the main actors and the supporting actors, so just go for simple rule: who are getting services from your system are the primary actors, or who are the user of your system who are getting services from your system are the primary actor, and who provides, or all those who provides input to your system are supporting actors. Like an Visa is providing the services, a PayPal account is providing the services. So these are supporting actors for our system. Then again are different types of systems, so actors. So we are having another way to classify the actor is either a human or the system or the software or hardware or timer or a clock. So this is, we are not limited to this type of users, but we can go for, in addition to that, when we are adding a system, so we can write a stereotype like this, like this in as a computer system. So computer system here is an actor of your system. While I was doing my post-graduation thesis, so I have developed a system. So while going for the early phases of the requirement, I implemented my database as an user of the system. So we can add a database is also database system as an system user of our system, because we have not implemented it yet, or we don't have any specification for the database. So in the early phases we can we can use databases as an actors or supporting actors of our system. Then again question, how to identify the use cases? So in order to identify the use cases, first you have to go for what are the different functions that is being used by your actors. So identify the functions that are being available. Let's say for our ERP system, so you logged in your system, you can go for the forgot your password. So these are the different use cases. Now when we are using email services to get OTP from our system, so this email system can be used as a supporting actor for our system. Then again, does the system store information? What actors will create, read, update, and delete information? So when we are going for like database management, so what information is to be your create a student, a delete a student, or update information of the student? So these are being use cases of your system. Or some notification arises from your system, so these are notifications are also in your use cases, usually in the internal state of your system, or some external events that causes some triggers in our system. So that external cases may be your use cases of the system. Now, when we are going for use cases guidelines, so we are having some guidelines available for us. So what are these guidelines? So first guideline says that follow the two paragraph rule. So what is this two paragraph rule? So for each use cases, uh, you must include what are the rainy seasons and what are the sunny season. That is, you have to include all the good condition as well as all the worst condition, and that is what is the basic course of actions, and in addition to that what are the alternate course of the action available for the use cases. Like when we are like as an example, I'm taking a class, so take a class is just a use case. But what about when we are having some problems with internet problems or the bandwidth problem? So this might be an alternate case. So we have to include both alternative cases as well as uh, basic course. Then organize your use cases with actors and the use case diagram. So when we are going for develop these use cases, so you will try to associate each actor with at least one use cases, so that uh, we have some significant actors available with our system. Then again, the next one is uh, write your use cases in active voice. So uh, in your school you identify what I can say that try to write your use cases or the functionalities in the active cases. Like for an example, the capability is provided for the user to log in into your system, to log in the system using a password to protect authorization scheme and so on. So this, so let's say take an example that the capability is provided for the user to log in using a password protected authorization scheme. So this is not an active case. So active voice. So when you are converting your data, your requirement to active voice, so this might be considered as an the user enters her username and password, then clicks to the login button, then the system looks up the user profile using the username and checks the password. So when I'm saying that we are having two types of the statement that is being available as an active voice and as an passive voice, so we avoid passive voice. Just like in the capability is provided for the user to log in system using password protected authorization. Instead, we can use the user enter his username and password or the credential to log into your system and then clicks for the login button. So we must that is in good practice to include active voices instead of going for passive voices. Then the next one is that write your use cases using event response flow describing both sides of the user system or the dialogues. So when a use case is triggered by a user, so system have to respond for each triggers from your use cases. So when you are trying to develop an use cases, you have to include what are the users and what the system is capable to do, and you have to take actions. So a user makes some actions and the system will provide the reaction. Again, system makes an actions and a reaction will be provided from the system. So we have to go for the event response flow for developing this use cases. Then use your uh, uh, GUI prototypes and screen mockups. So when you are going from the storyboards or the GUI prototypes or the screen mockups, so it will be helpful for initial case of any in the initial set of use case developments. So try to concentrate on what are the different types of screens might be available. So in use cases, we can use this GUI or the screen boards or storyboards as an functionalities. But when we are going for the class diagram, so don't put GUI or the prototypes or the story types in your class diagrams. Then again, remember that your use case is really runtime behavior specification. So what is that? So when you are driving your design from the use cases, it means that you draw a sequence diagram from each and every use cases. For an example, let's say I want to log into your system. So one use case might be log into your system. In the later part, in the next increment or the next iteration, we will develop a sequence diagram from these use cases. So for developing these use cases, you have to write just a real-time behavior specification that you include some basic course of steps that is being taken for your login to system. That user opens the login screen, then user enters his username, then user enters his password, then user clicks on the login button, and in addition to that, you will provide some extension points that this username and password should not be empty. So these are the different courses of action that you have to include in your use cases. So this being implemented as a runtime behavior of your system. Then again, the next thing is that write your use case in the context of your object model. So what is the mantra for this? That you can't drive your object oriented design from the use cases unless your use cases are objects, because we are going for the object oriented analysis. So our each and everything should be focused towards the object oriented analysis. So stuck to your object orientation. Then next comes is write your use cases using noun verb sentences. So when we are going noun verb noun sentences or verb noun sentences, it means that you are doing something. So when you are doing something, it means that it is a function. So you have to include verb noun phrases or noun verb phrases. So I'll suggest that you start with some verbs and then go for nouns. So you have to sentence your structure like that. Then your reference domains. Reference domain classes by name. So this is when you are going to develop your use cases from your domain classes. So collect each and every nouns from your domain classes and then go develop your own use cases. Then finally identify your boundary classes. So this has been very important for this. So when you have some boundary classes, it means that you are having some unambiguous behavior of your requirement, and this behavior is nearly always involves some, let's say, what we can say, interfaces of your system or the GUI of your system. So let's say we can write this as an the user can select or log into your system and then add let's say we are going for some internet bookstore example, so he can add some books from his wish list and so on. So you have to identify the different boundaries by their name, so you are having some clear specifications. Okay, so any problem till now? I'm thinking that I'm getting out of time. Any? Okay, fine. Thank you then.